Part third is fundamental rights. Now, before we understand fundamental rights, we need to understand what is meant by rights. Rights are not privileges. Rights are the claims of an individual on an authority. So you claim something. These are not privileges that, oh, you get something. And whenever we talk about claims, you cannot enjoy the rights in vacuum. You have no right to ask a question to a person who is not here. You claim someone that why you will not give me this? This is my right. So in where there is vacuum, you cannot have rights. When I am there, then only you have the right to ask a question. This is the legal dimension of rights. Such type of questions are asked in the examination. Which of the following statement is correct regarding the rights? So rights are the claims of an individual. Rights have got a moral dimension also. Rights are those conditions of social life without which no individual can claim or can be at his or her best self. So, in other words, we can say that rights are essential for the development of the personality of an individual. Why we have got right to work? Why we have got right to education? And why we have got this right to freedom of speech and expression? Without the rights, we cannot be at our best self. Our personality cannot be developed. Now, after understanding this concept of rights, when we talk about this concept, fundamental rights, fundamental means basic rights. When we need to understand the history of fundamental rights, then basically it goes back to the concept of human rights. When we analyze this concept of human rights, you see we have got two words here, man and human. Man is a biological animal. And human is a sociological entity. If you give food to an animal, suppose a doggy, then you can throw a chapati towards a doggy and that doggy will have. And he will start loving you also. But when you go home and your mama will just say, have this food. Then what you will say? Mama, please don't treat me like a doggy. I am a human being. You want to be treated with dignity. You want to be treated with dignity. You want to be treated not as a biological animal, but as a sociological entity. So, when we talk about human rights, the simplest definition of human rights can be: human rights are considered essential for a dignified human existence. You see, when we talk about this concept of human rights, it all started with the concept of natural rights. Right to life, right to liberty, and right to property. And the classical liberals, especially John Locke, he favored the theory of natural rights. And the classical liberals, they were of the view that these rights, that is right to life, right to liberty, and right to property, are given to us by nature. They have not been given to us by the state or by an individual. That is why the state or an individual has no right to take back these rights from us. So the natural rights were considered as absolute in nature. Not only this, these rights were also considered as inalienable rights. Just as we cannot alienate a tree from its rights to have leaves, flowers, and fruits without ending its existence. Similarly, according to the liberals, you cannot take these rights from an individual without ending his or her existence. So it started like this. No proper theory of human rights was developed, but the concern for human rights was felt during the Second World War, and two incidents took place. One was the mass killing of the Jews by the forces of Hitler, and secondly, atom bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The whole world started thinking that if the individuals, they are to be butchered like animals, and the concern for human rights was felt. And the first effort was taken in this regard when the United Nations was established. That was in 1945. The written charter of the United Nations holds that the objective of the organization is to stop the future wars. But as far as my understanding of the UN Charter goes, the objective of the United Nations is to protect the human rights of the people across the globe. Because war is the greatest violation of human rights. And when you are talking of protecting, we can say, stopping the future wars, it means you are thinking of protecting the human rights. But a detailed charter of the human rights was not mentioned in the Charter of the United Nations. The efforts continued, and it was on 10th December 1948 that the UN General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR. And UDHR is the source of human rights in the world. It contains a preamble and 30 articles. And these articles, these rights which have been mentioned in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, they are not binding on the nations, but it is expected that a democratic country should incorporate more and more human rights in its law of the land and give it to the citizens. Those human rights which have been incorporated in part 3rd of the Constitution, and they enjoy special sanction of law. That is, you can go to the highest court of the country if they are violated or not enforced, are termed as fundamental rights. So fundamental rights are basically human rights.